Dogs keep bothering us.
Yeah, we thought we had all the dogs put away, and then one crept out from behind the couch and went, oh, hey, you forgot about me.
Yeah, hey, I want to be on TV.
So, welcome. This is the video that I think we're most maybe excited about doing because it kind of encompasses the whole purpose of all of this, which is helping you know the steps to renovating an old home. I know for us, we wanted to do this for years. But every time we would look at an old house, we would take our family to look at an old house with us.
Oh my gosh, the negativity.
The negativity and the fear, just the fear of this is such a huge project. Where do you even begin? I mean, it can be overwhelming and horrifying. And we even got a message on Instagram last week from somebody who has an old home, who bought the home, but is terrified to start the process because they don't know where to start. They don't even know where to begin.
Right.
So we thought we would do a little video.
Step by step.
Yeah. To kind of... What?
Well, what I was going to say was, of course, everything is different. Your house is going to be different. So we're going to relate it to the way we're going to work on weeds.
Yes. And this is very broad. When you put it in a spreadsheet like this, we have notes. So we'll be referring to our notes. We have a spreadsheet. It looks pretty simple, right? I mean, it's black and white on paper.
Like pretty much 9
There's
steps
like 13,
or so.
I think we have 13 steps in total. Right. Easy breezy. The first time we did one of these renovations, we had it broken into a 60-day project. Do you remember that? This house is going to be 60 days.
What it takes about
a year
months.
And a half.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to preface this by saying, expect the unexpected. These are the general steps. This is a way to help you get started and not feel quite so overwhelmed by the process. This is how things need to go, but there are always going to be surprises.
Right.
There just will be.
Yeah, and that's the thing with most of these houses, you've got to tear out some walls and look in them, and then when you do that, you're going to find things.
Yes, but you know what? It doesn't matter what you find, unless you literally
Sometimes you find good things.
A dead body. It's okay. And even a dead body's okay, because then you just call the police because you know you didn't do it. But
hopefully you don't find any dead bodies. But sometimes you pull up carpet and you find great hardwood.
Yes. And sometimes you pull up carpet and find huge holes in the floor. But either way, both of those situations can be handled in an appropriate fashion.
Sure.
So these are the steps to renovating and restoring a historic home. So step number 1 is design and planning. So obviously I think step number 1 is buying the house, right?
Right.
Finding the house, buying the house, and getting funding for your project.
Right, which is another video. If you don't know that, watch that video.
Yes, we've already done that video. But once you have your house, once you have your funding, then the most important thing that you have to do is basically create your game plan. Old homes, how they're laid out originally, do not work for the 21st century. Now, you know, we're not into big open floor plans. We're not into massive changes in historic buildings. That's not...
But we're super into indoor toilets and indoor plumbing
and connected
water
kitchens
and electricity.
I do enjoy electric lights. So, you know, those houses were not planned with those things. A lot of times, I mean, we have homes here in the United States. There's one for sale right now that was built in 1664. Well, obviously, indoor toilets weren't a thing. So you've got to make your plan to bring things into the 21st century in a respectful way. But then you get into the problem often of the fact that many of these homes have been remodeled for years. So you really have to take the time to understand the original time period of the home, what the rooms were meant to be, what walls are original, what doorways are original, how things should have been laid out. And once you get that basic fundamental understanding of your property, then you can start to create your own plan for how it's going to function for you and your family in the 21st century. We're doing that with Louise right now. She has 4 bathrooms. None of them are anywhere that you would want a bathroom. There's one off the kitchen. There's one on the front porch. There's the little tiny one that was in the beauty shop. So there's the one that's in the master bedroom. There's the one off the kitchen. There's the one in the beauty shop, which no longer exists. And then there's like one in a weird corner upstairs.
Right.
None of them are in any of the spots they need to be. So maybe we'll put in a slide here showing you how her upstairs is now and how her upstairs is going to be, because she's going to be a bed and breakfast.
Right. which is going to be different than in just a normal family home. We're going to have to put a bathroom in every bedroom.
Right.
So that's a little different too.
Right,
That's
so
part
little
of the
suites,
planning.
but that's part of the planning, and we need to know that because everything that you're going to do from here on out hinges on the planning. Every step afterward hinges on the planning. Part of your planning also needs to be, what part of these projects are we going to tackle?
Right.
What part of these projects are we capable of handling? And then what part of these projects do we need to get professionals in on? We can do a ton of carpentry. We can do a ton of demolition. We can do a ton of pretty work.
Painting and finished
Right.
carpentry. And
we're not going to tackle electrical. We're not going to tackle plumbing. Those are the things we're going to call in the pros on because those are just huge, 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 huge things. Some of you are more than capable of that. And
Right.
we encourage you. If you're capable of that, do it. Do it yourself. Save those dollars. Part of that planning then is also getting your permit. So once you have your plan done, once you've decided what I'm going to do, what he's going to do, what they're going to do, then you want to get your permits because delaying those permits can delay your project for weeks and weeks and weeks. Some cities, we're very lucky that Louisville is a small city, so it's pretty easy to get a permit. Took us one afternoon. Bigger cities, getting a permit can take a couple of weeks.
Mhm.
So you've got to have that as part of your process, your planning process, so you don't lose time on that.
let me say this too about permits, and it may not hold true with the large cities too as well. But one of the things that we learned, or early on, we were like, we're afraid to get permits. They're going to make us do it this way or that way. But really, they can be really good for you because they come in and they make sure that the electrical is all up to code because sometimes these guys want to cut corners.
Yeah.
So it's good for them to come in and say, okay, this was done improperly. You need to come back and
I
change
think where that's
that.
coming from him, you know, we see on home improvement shows, oh, when the inspector comes, it's
Oh,
like
no,
it's
yeah.
like the monster
They're
showing
shutting
us.
us
They're
down.
shutting us down. Well, they're shutting you down because if they had allowed the electrical to continue like that contractor was doing it, your house would have burned down next week. It is a protection that's put in place for people like us who are lay people who don't really know whether or not that electrician is doing it properly.
Right.
So don't be afraid of
all
permits
the
and don't be afraid of those inspectors. And then the last part of your planning process is to find your contractors or subcontractors. In our case, we typically find craftsmen and subcontractors as part of that process so that we know when each part of the next phase comes along who we're going to be calling and having ready to go. So step number 1, design and planning.
All right. Step number 2 is you've got, and it's the biggest thing with Louise, you got to get this thing in the dry. And I mean, Louise was leaking.
Yep.
So it's roof, foundation, windows, exterior doors, basically anything that's going to keep the elements out.
Yeah, you got to wrap up your Christmas package.
Right. And then, of course, there's planning all along the way because when we chose a roof for Louise, that took a lot of time and effort because it's so important. She's so much roof, big old bonnet, and we needed to make sure we picked the right thing. And we're really happy with the one that we did pick. But, so we needed to get that thing in the dry. Roof was super important. Next thing you go to is foundation. There were a few issues, but for the most part, she was pretty solid. The house that we're in right now in Arkansas, bad foundation.
No foundation.
Bad. I mean,
not even bad. Just This is the one that the termites were holding together.
Right.
We've said that in another
They
video,
were all
but
holding
literally they were
hands.
just holding hands.
So you can't really do anything until you get that foundation right because it's going to move the whole house.
Yeah.
So we're in there jacking things around. They come in and they look, is that level? Is that level? Is that level? And
Yeah, we couldn't even demo until
we couldn't do anything.
he wouldn't let us walk in the house until he had finished the foundation work because moving anything in the house would really have put the entire house in peril. I mean, it was that bad in this house. And so that the foundation, I would say, you know, with Louise, obviously, we were very fortunate with the foundation, but so with her, the roof was the most important. But I would say on a typical restoration, foundation would trump roof for me. I think because you don't want to put a brand new roof on a house and the foundation so bad that it literally could fall down.
Foundation super, super important. And I don't know if you guys if you followed along and you've seen some of the photos of the foundation, we thought that we had a real problem in one area, but it was really what they call bounce.
A bounce beam. A bounce beam.
To
not
keep
a balance
the floors.
beam.
It wasn't really holding weight. It was keeping
a
the floor
structural.
from bouncing. So anyway, that's kind of something that we learned.
To
We
balance
didn't
on
really
the bouncing
know.
floors.
Right.
Yeah.
And the rooms are so big.
Yeah, and that part of Louise is so old that the way she's constructed is very different than the way this house that was built in 1909 is constructed. And so when we looked under there and saw that center beam hanging, we were like, oh no, this is terrible, not realizing that her foundation is actually all around the exterior. And that was just basically to make it a little more aesthetically pleasing on the inside so that you didn't get a lot of movement.
Right.
But we got it fixed.
Those rooms are so big, you got longer expanses, and so that's why you need that bounce foundation, I guess.
Yeah.
So we've got that taken care of with Louise. We've got the roof. I know you guys have seen. Looks fantastic. And so the next thing we've got to do is get our windows in shape. And there's a lot of missing glass, and so there will still be some rain coming in, not like it was. But we've got plastic over those now, but we've got to get glass in there, and then we've got a few doors that we've got to get structurally sound.
And don't forget, this is important too, because we did a lot of this.
Right. So there was some water damage, and so some of our joists had rotted, and so we had to come in and do that. A little bit of leveling with one of the walls. Any rot you've got to take care of.
Well, this is also a place where any seals, any structural issues need to be taken care of. So, we mostly think of structural issues as roof and foundation, but there can be lots of interior structural issues as well. In this house, we've said before, we opened up the west wall and there had been water infiltration for years that we didn't know was there, and there were termites. And so all of those studs and many of the floor joists were just completely disintegrated. So that was the time that we then replaced all those joists and studs and got everything structurally secure. Because
we had to do that before we could finish the roof on that area, actually.
Yeah.
So, listen to your contractors. They'll tell you. But also, in your inspection, these are the kind of things that you need to know from your inspector. He comes back and he says, this is the issues with foundation. This is the issues with the roof.
If you do an inspection.
We knew this one was, we knew this one needed everything. Right. So,
why bother?
Yeah, why bother? But those are that's the information that you will use to get through Number two.
So then number 3 is demo. Everybody knows what demo is. Everybody knows how that goes. Something you have to be prepared for, though, that a lot of people aren't, is what do you do with the trash that you're going to create? Because you're going to look at a room and you're going to think, okay, we're going to pull out all this lath and plaster. No big deal. We'll just put it in. You have no idea how much cubic footage one room of lath and plaster can create. You can fill a 40-yard dumpster with like 2 rooms of lath and plaster. It's unbelievable. So make sure that you have a dumpster secured for yourself. There are lots of different companies out there you can contact. Usually your local sanitation company is going to have dumpster delivery. Get a big one. Don't get the small one. Don't scrimp. Just listen to me now. Listen. Don't scrimp. Get the biggest dumpster you can.
Right. Well, most of the fee is the takeaway and bring back. So
fill it.
They will charge you monthly for it to be there, but it's not that expensive.
Yeah. I mean, rolling up carpet. If you've got old carpet in your house, you can fill a dumpster with old carpet. It's ridiculous. Now, if you're fortunate enough to have a trailer that you can load stuff up on and take it to the dump, good for you. Are you going to want to spend a lot of your renovation time loading up stuff and taking it to the dump? I'm not. I'd rather pay a little bit extra and have the dumpster there on site. You want to demo carefully. The last thing you want to do is get sledgehammer happy. First of all, I don't care what renovation shows show you. Don't use a sledgehammer to demo. That's not the way it's done properly. What is the little saw called? I always call it a sawzall. Okay, so what is a sawzall,
Well, the sawzall is what you would use for demo, yes.
You carefully remove what you're taking out because you can very quickly accidentally take out a load-bearing wall. Whoopsie! Or you can cut through some old electrical that you didn't want to. You can sledgehammer your way into a plumbing pipe that you didn't mean to sledgehammer into. So demolition is not done like it's done on television. It should not be done. It has to be done strategically. And the more orderly you are with it, the less mess you're going to have, the less time you're going to have to spend cleaning up. And we say these things not judgmentally. We say these things from personal experience because we've been the ones who went and were like, woohoo, sledgehammer! Then it's just so much mess.
The first demo job we did, I ended up busting the hot water heater.
Yes, I forgot about
Yeah, so we had to buy a new one or a new part or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and then just
didn't go that
last
well.
year we demoed out the attic in this house, and we hired a group of guys to work on it, and we told all the guys, be so careful, don't hit this wall, don't bust through this drywall, because this drywall is going to stay. This drywall is going to stay. Who busted through the drywall, Kevin?
Surely one of them, not me.
Definitely was him. So now there's a big hole in our drywall upstairs that we have to keep duct tape over.
Not real big. Okay, yes, that was not good.
Yes.
Board fell on me and it went through the drywall, but yeah.
But it was still his fault, and I still give him grief over it. And also, this is the time that you're going to want to use caution, because if there are, lead paint issues, if there are asbestos issues, this is when you're going to encounter them. But we've talked about how to deal with those in another video. They're not scary. They're not terrifying. Don't freak out. Yes, the house is going to have lead paint in it. It's probably going to have asbestos. You can deal with those things. So don't panic.
Right. Okay. So then the next thing is structural carpentry, which actually we dealt with a little bit when we were doing our roof and everything. But so structural carpentry is going to be it's going to be what you're building back after you've demoed away. So we will be doing structural carpentry when we put bathrooms in this house. We're reconfiguring the master suite. There are a few rooms on that side that we're kind of taking out, really weird rooms. And we're putting those back together. So you have a master closet and a master bath and a little bit in the kitchen. But that's when you're building new walls, building new rooms, building cabinetry. I guess cabinetry would fall under structural. No, probably not.
Ignore that.
Okay, forget I said that.
He's just rambling at this point.
But that's when you're building back your walls, and you go ahead and you don't close those walls up yet because
that's not yet. But structural carpentry is anything that you made in your design plan and you put in your design plan. This is when you're building in what you put in your design plan in stage 1. Right?
Right.
New beams to support, let's say, for us, structural carpentry, we're going to put 4 bathtubs upstairs that weren't there. So we're probably going to have to go in and put landings underneath those areas to support the weight, because sometime in the 20s probably, they put one bathroom in the upstairs, and the floor in that area, the whole part of that room is sinking where that bathtub has been sitting for all these years, because they didn't come in and support. And it's a cast iron bathtub. So can you imagine the weight of a cast iron bathtub full of water? So with the person in it. Right. And so over the years, that whole area is just sunk. So when we go in and we put in 4 new bathrooms, we're going to put structural supports in there to hold the weight of those. So those are the kind of the things that happen with structural carpentry as well.
Yes, I had something else to say, but
sorry, I interrupted.
No, that's okay.
We were going to be really careful and take turns and not speak over each other.
I know what I was gonna say was you'll get an inspection on your carpentry also. Yeah. So they'll come in and make sure all of that is up to code and it's built right, and so you've got to have people come in during the process to make sure it's done properly.
Every step of the way. The inspector will come every step of the way, even things that you don't even think that he would care about. Like he'll come in and inspect your framing. He'll come in and inspect your insulation. When we first started doing this, I was like, you want to look at the pink fluffy stuff in my walls? Okay, sure, come on in. But they want to come over all the time.
It's my electric bill. What do you care?
Yeah. He cares that it didn't burn your house down is what he cares about. So step number 5, this is your mechanical systems. So once all of that we just talked about is done, now you're going to put in your HVAC, your electrical, and your plumbing. Those 3 things can happen sort of simultaneously. The reason they sort of need to happen simultaneously is a lot of what each of those 3 groups do plays off the other one. So the plumber needs to know where the electrician is putting his things so that he knows where to put his things. And the HVAC guy needs to know where the exhaust pipes are going to run so he can run his duct work. So you're going to have those 3 guys come in at about the same time. Now, you can definitely have your electrical and plumbing done together and wait on the HVAC guy, but you really can't do electrical by itself and plumbing by itself. They tie too much together, I think.
And the thing too that I don't know that I realized early on is these guys are going to have to come back. And come back.
Mini trips.
There's the first work where they put it in.
They rough it in.
And then they're going to have to come back and they're going to do their finish work. Yeah. So, you've got at least 2, but probably 5 times that they're going to have to come and go.
And they should give you, so just on pricing, try to get workmen who will give you a quote for the entire job. because you can really get nickel and dime to death because they are going to have to come back. And every time there's an inspection, they're probably going to have to come back and do a little something because nobody ever just greenlights you.
It's not your fault.
It's their fault, right? So you shouldn't have to pay extra money. So we'd always try to get guys who give us either like a per hour rate. So we know he's working this many hours, he's going to make this much money, or they give us a full quote. We don't like those contractors who want to float.
No, they should
cost
be able to.
Plus
They should be able to give you a quote for the entire job. Here's another key thing, though, that you need to remember. If you're going to change something, that's where they like to get you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you changed that. So it's another, astronomical figure. Well, so make sure when you make a change that you get the price for that change.
Yeah, you tell them right up front. And don't be afraid to say, this is a very minimal change. I was going to put the sink here and I'm moving it 7 inches. That shouldn't cost me $500. Right. You're under the house anyway. You're putting the pipe there anyway. It shouldn't cost me that much money. Don't be afraid of your contractors, your subs. Yeah. They're going to want to try to, I hate to say mansplain because that's not always the case, but they're going to want to try to convince you that they know more than you do and they know how much more difficult it is than you know how it is. Then, this is your property and this is your money. So don't be afraid to say, I'm not paying you $500 more to move a water line 6 more inches.
Right.
That's ridiculous. Because I can see the floor joists run this direction. You're either going to put it here, you're going to put it here. It's no more work for you.
So try not to make changes, but when you do, get a price for that before you go.
So in closing.
We just talked so long, we killed the tape, didn't we?
We're good at that. Hang on, you got a crazy thing happening right here. Yeah. Okay, there we go. We got a little crazy. He got a quarantine haircut. You know how you used to have a guy for weed? That's what I said. You used to have a guy for weed. Now you have a guy to get a haircut. Anyway, we hope this is helpful. We hope it's not too prattling and all over the place. But I know for me, when we first started renovating, I would have loved to have somebody just sit down and kind of go, okay,
these are the things.
These are the steps. If you make your plan and you follow these steps, you can do this. You can save a house. It's not scary. It's not out of control. It's not overwhelming. Look at it. It's like a math problem. You do a step at a time and you come to the solution.
Right. And I just wanted to say too, we're not contractors.
We're not.
We are not trained. We just have experience doing this and we rely on those with training and experience to do the hard things and get us to the end usually.
That's our legal disclaimer.
That's our legal disclaimer. Don't go, well, Kevin told me I could do this.
Laine said.
Yeah, so anyway.
But
you can do it.
You can learn from we hope you can learn from our experience, both positive and negative, and then make your dream a reality too.
Yes. Thank you for watching.
Bye, guys.
Bye.